Welcome to the Non-Negotiable Living podcast, where we're building lives by design by creating non-negotiable habits around fitness, family, faith, and financial freedom.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Non-Negotiable Living. I'm Ashley, and today we're diving into an important topic, especially as we head into the holiday season: setting boundaries and letting go of expectations. This time of year can be magical, but it can also feel overwhelming with all the commitments, traditions, and pressures we place on ourselves, or feel placed on us by others. So I'm going to share a personal story today about how letting go of something that used to bring me joy, which was sending Christmas cards, and why I decided it no longer serves me. We're also going to talk about how to release yourself from the expectations, deal with the fear of judgment, and navigate the struggle of overcommitment, especially during the holidays. So let's get started. Let me tell you about something I used to love doing: sending Christmas cards. For years, it brought me so much joy, picking out the perfect design, writing heartfelt notes, mailing them out. It made me feel connected to people I cared about. But as I've gotten older, busier, and especially after becoming a mom, something shifted. So what used to feel like joy started to feel like a chore. And the time it took to organize everything began to fill me with dread, not happiness. So I realized it wasn't serving me anymore. And instead of looking forward to it, I felt obligated, like I was doing it out of fear of what people would think of it. I used to enjoy going to the store, picking out the cards, going to the post office, getting the special Christmas postage stamps, writing people's names and scrolling letters, writing heartfelt messages to each person. I used to love it. And now, honestly, the idea of going to the store to buy Christmas cards, buying the postage, sitting down and taking the time to write them, not only the names and addresses on the cards, but the physical messages to each person, sounds like so much work. And I know some of you might be thinking, you're crazy, I love Christmas cards. I used to feel the same, but I don't anymore. So over the last couple years, I've set boundaries on this, and I decided I wasn't going to send cards anymore. And I was worried about people's judgment. I would think, would people be upset? Would they think I cared less about them if they didn't get a card? What if they sent me a card and I didn't send one back? Would they think I was mad at them? Would they think that I was being unreasonable not sending cards out? These thoughts held me back for a while, but I knew this boundary was necessary for my own mental health and time management and my ability to enjoy the holidays. I personally have always been somebody who struggled with the holidays. It goes back to my teen years when my parents got divorced and we stopped celebrating holidays together as a family. So the holidays have always brought me a lot of trepidation, a lot of stress. I've never liked the obligation of buying gifts. I don't like the obligation of doing certain activities on the holidays with people or showing up to things. I don't like traveling around the holidays. There's just a lot to it that doesn't bring me joy. And when this thing that did bring me joy for so many years started to leach the joy out of the holidays that I was having, I decided it was time to set that boundary and say enough is enough. So after having my son in 2020, I started to slowly dwindle down who I sent cards to, how I sent cards, the process, how much time I put into it, how much money I spent on it. And I started to slowly lessen the burden on myself. And last year, after having 2 kids, being a business owner, being a wife, having all of these expectations on me, I decided I was done, that I was not sending one single card for Christmas. And I decided to post a picture on Instagram of a Christmas card, and I wrote a message and said, hey everybody, this year I'm not sending cards out. I love you all, I'm thinking of you all, but sending cards doesn't serve me in this season, and I appreciate you understanding. That simple message lifted a weight off of my shoulders. It allowed me to honor my own needs while still expressing the love and connection in a way that worked for me. But let's talk about this, because setting boundaries is hard, and struggling with overcommitment around the holidays is a very real thing. So the holidays are notorious for people overcommitting, scheduling too many things, having too much travel, having too many small things on their plate as far as purchasing gifts, wrapping, planning, sending, shipping, cards, all the things. We say yes to every party, every gift, every exchange, every tradition, even when it stretches us too thin. Well, why do we do that? Often it's because we're afraid of letting people down. We feel like we have to keep up these traditions and expectations, even if they no longer serve us. And some of it is out of fear of judgment. So let's be honest, setting boundaries can be scary. What will people think? If I don't bake cookies for the office that I always have? What if we skip hosting Christmas dinner for 1 year? We get so worried about the judgments that we prioritize other people's opinions over our own well-being. So we have to do some self-reflection, because the truth is, when we let go of things that don't serve us, we make room for things that do. And the holidays should feel joyful and fulfilling, not overwhelming and draining. And it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to set new boundaries that align with who you are today, not who you were 5 years ago. And we have to be reasonable about that and understand that that is growth. That doesn't mean we're doing anything wrong. That doesn't mean we're dropping the ball. That doesn't mean we're not showing up as our best self or giving 100%. It means that our priorities have changed and shifted, and we're respecting that, and that is very important. So I want to talk through some tips to release yourself from expectations. So tip number 1 is evaluate what truly serves you. I want you to take a moment to reflect on the traditions or commitments that fill you with joy, and then think about the ones that feel like obligations. Now ask yourself, does this activity make me happy? Does it align with my current season of life? And if the answer is no, give yourself permission to let it go. Obviously, there's going to be things that are obligations that your family wants to do. Maybe you don't want to do it. Maybe you compromise on a few. It doesn't have to be everything all at once, but figure out the things that serve you the least and try to remove those if you can. Tip 2 is to communicate these things clearly. One of the best ways to release yourself from expectations is to communicate your boundaries clearly and kindly. So when I posted about not sending Christmas cards, I wasn't being dismissive. I was letting people know I cared about them, but that this tradition no longer served me. So a little communication goes a long way in helping others understand your choices. And if you're letting go of long-term family traditions, there might be some explanation asked for. You don't owe it to anybody. You can simply say, I don't want to do that. But a lot of times when setting boundaries, you're going to feel the obligation to explain yourself. And just explaining to somebody, I don't want to take the time to do this. I don't feel like I have the capacity. I am spread pretty thin. I'm worn out. I'm kind of tired. And I don't want to do that is fine. But communicate with people, especially the people closest to you. Communicate with your spouse, with your children, with your parents, with your family, the people who are going to be impacted, because it's going to give you peace of mind in making that decision. Tip 3, practice letting go of judgment. So when you release yourself from the expectation, it also means releasing yourself from the fear of judgment that's going to come with it. People might not understand your decision at first, and that's okay. It's not your job to meet everyone's expectations. It's not your job to make everybody happy. It is your job to take care of yourself and to prioritize what serves you and your family unit. Tip 4 is to focus on connection, not obligation. So find alternative ways to connect that feel less burdensome. So instead of sending the cards, maybe you send a heartfelt group message, hop on a quick phone call, or even post a holiday greeting online. It's the thought that counts, not the format. Tip 5 is to remember it's okay to revisit your boundaries. Boundaries are not set in stone, and just because something doesn't serve you now doesn't mean it will never again. Maybe one day I'll go back to sending Christmas cards, but for now, I'm grateful for the space this boundary has created. So be open and willing to changing your mind as you go and realizing that maybe this year it's just not the year to do all the things. Maybe next year will be, and that's okay. That doesn't make you a hypocrite. That doesn't make you bad. That just means that your capacity is different from year to year, which is true of everybody. Just most people don't respect themselves enough to implement it. So let's talk about dealing with holiday overcommitment. It's easy to fall into the trap of saying yes to everything during the holidays, but this often leads to burnout. And here's the thing, you don't have to attend every party or participate in every tradition to have a meaningful holiday season. So here's a few strategies to avoid overcommitment. Say no to at least one thing this season. If it doesn't spark joy, if it doesn't fit into your schedule, give yourself permission to decline. If somebody invites you to something and you have to take a step back and think, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that, or gosh, that's going to be really expensive to add in, or ooh, that really doesn't work with my family's schedule, then just say no. There's nothing wrong with saying no. Set your priorities and focus on the events or traditions that mean the most to you and your family. And please protect your downtime. The holidays should include some rest and relaxation, not just a packed calendar. I know it's a short season. I know that it's easy with kids to say, I want to do everything with them. But your kids are going to remember you having energy and showing up for them in a positive and meaningful way for the few things you decide to do, rather than being frantic and spread too thin and not enjoying yourself and being snippy and short-tempered, trying to do 100 things that don't serve you. So as we wrap up, I want to remind you that the holidays are about connection, joy, and celebration, not perfection or meeting every expectation. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's self-care, and it allows you to show up fully for the things that matter most. So this season, take a step back, reflect on what serves you, and release the things that don't. And don't be afraid to communicate your boundaries. You'll feel lighter, happier, and more present for the moments that truly matter. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Non-Negotiable Living. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear more about your boundaries you're setting this season. Share them with me on Instagram or in the comments, and let's inspire each other to create a holiday season filled with joy and intention, to take time, take care of ourselves, and remember, you're allowed to prioritize yourself and what you need over prioritizing everything for everybody else. You guys got this.